Bombs took my restaurants and home in Syria. But I was lucky, not like my friends. They also lost their businesses, their house, but they also lost their families. My wife and daughters are safe, so I'm the luckiest. I used to run 3 restaurants in Damascus before the revolution. Now I run 1 kitchen here in London, and we just opened our first cafe in the heart of London. When the revolution came, everything I built was destroyed. I left Damascus in the night in July 2015. I drove to Lebanon, then flee to Turkey. From there, I boarded in a tiny boat with just 9 seats, but we were 54 of us. The journey did not get easier. I walked hundreds of miles, traveled with smugglers. I hid in the back of lorries. In Calais, I spent 64 days sleeping on church steps. Yet even there, I found a way to cook with a picnic stove, a single bowl, and one night I made food for 40-50 people each day. Cooking in that moment was not just about food, it was about hope. It was like saying, we're still alive, we still matter. When I finally arrived to London, I worked in anything I could just to survive. But I never stopped cooking. I started small, inviting people over to test my Syrian food and asking for their opinion. And then with the support of friends, I started my first pop-up in Shoreditch. I wanted to show London what Syria really is, not just a revolution, but the culture, the flavor, the warmth. That is when I was ready for a permanent restaurant. It was not just a business, it was my second chance. 90% of our guests are not Syrian, and that is the point. Syrian food is for everyone. I went back to Syria for the first time a couple of weeks ago. It was painful, but it reminded me why I cook with the family. Until now, we don't really talk about our house in Syria. It's very difficult, sensitive topic. Like, for example, now when we went back to Syria, I wanted to show my wife and daughters our destroyed house. But my wife decided to stay in the car, and she didn't want to come out because it's so emotional for her. I totally understand. We went to another house and it was burned by Assad, but also again, she didn't want to see it because it's so emotional for her, and we decided not to talk about it anymore. We just gonna rebuild, and I don't want them to forget about what happened because they are so unique, with their experience. But I don't want them also to be traumatized about what happened, it's so different. Yes, don't forget about it, but also don't let it hold you back. It's another excuse to be successful.